The right team and leadership is what makes go-to-market happen. Let's explore the types of go-to-market leaders and how to engage them in this episode of Closing Time. Welcome to Closing Time, the show for go-to-market leaders. I'm Val Riley, head of content and digital marketing at Insightly CRM. Today, I'm joined by Sangram Vajre. He is the co-founder of GTM Partners and Terminus and the best-selling author of Move. Welcome, Sangram.
Val, excited to be here. This is, I know the topic we're talking about is super dear to me, so I'm excited to share my journey and also hear your thoughts as you read it.
Great. Sangram, your organization is all about the go-to-market operating system. And the last pillar in that model, possibly the most important, is all about leadership and management.
Yeah, I think that's the part that people delegate and recognize and feel like, oh yeah, we could just do these things and we can tell people what to do and then everybody does it. Like, does it ever happen? It never happens. So I think most organizations need to realize how intentional you have to be at your leadership. And go-to-market, for the most part, is not an offsite that you have and you come up with the best ideas out there and say, let's go do it, and nobody ever talks again. It's an ongoing iterative process of making sure that you are making the right trade-offs and choices of go-to-market. And you can't really do that without clear leadership, clear roles and responsibilities. And it has forced me to find out what is a framework, what is a way to talk through that at the leadership level that will allow people to be themselves authentically. And also it will help them to drive the mission and the vision of the business from a go-to-market perspective.
So I admit I tracked your team down once I saw you guys publish this data about what we'll learn here: dreamers, doers, and drivers. So this is my third SaaS startup, and the data really spoke to my heart. I was reading it and I almost literally exclaimed out loud. What was it that drove your team to create this model?
Well, so I'll give you a quick story. This might help everybody to recognize before we even get into the model. Is at Terminus, when I was leading the marketing and some of sales and go-to-market teams at that time, we had this person highly recommended from one of our VCs. And when you have somebody who's paying the check for the company and the VC recommends it and you're looking for it, you kind of like, oh, there's a complete background check of all times. They know what we're looking for. On paper, this person sounds amazing. And we're like, all right, great. We went through a process and hired them. 2 weeks later, I felt like, oh, this is the wrong person. Didn't make sense. What happened here? And so somehow, and then we had to move on. And it was really hard because we invested so much time and energy. People don't realize how much money and effort is put into it. And then 6 months later, it happened. The exact thing happened in another function of the company. And it made me go back and look at it like, whoa. I thought I knew how to hire. I thought we understand our challenges, but what are we missing? And that's really what happened for us, is we realized that when we needed a dreamer in a particular role, we hired a doer. And we had to, as we go into this conversation, I can explain that a little bit more. But that's a big mismatch. You can have the right skill set, but not the right mindset for that particular function at the time in the business. There's nothing wrong with the individual. It is not the right time and not the right type all happening at the same time. So somebody who could be wildly successful in a similar role in a company would be completely and utterly feel like they're failures in some other. And this happens to all of us, to the best of us. And that's really what prompted us to codify it. Is like, what are we trying? What do the gaps look like? And what do we call these people? So people know immediately as the names pop up, as the words pop up, is like, oh, that's me, or oh, that's what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like that's the perfect segue. So let's get right into it. I want you to break it down, starting with the dreamers, and tell me what are the characteristics, strengths, and maybe even weaknesses of somebody who is a dreamer.
So if you are a dreamer, I'm a dreamer. So I don't know about Val. Who are you before we just jump into it?
I'm definitely not a dreamer. Okay. I'll tell you that.
Right. So here is the thing about dreamer. Dreamer, for the most part, are people who are thinking and talking as if the future is happening. And you will hear that when you start about thinking about people. They live in the future. They live, the words that they would use would be like, oh, I wonder, I imagine. Like they are living, some might call it in the la la land, because they have this ideas about certain things that don't even exist. And they were typically very optimistic about the future. They have full of ideas. And one of the best way to kind of pull them together is that they look at the world around them and things around them with a wonder. And normally the response they will give you is like, wow, like that's a great idea. Like they will have that kind of view of the world, is I live in a wow moment. I want to see things happen. I want to see the future make a different turn. And that's what dreamers are all about.
Okay, so some examples of dreamers are Walt Disney, Martin Luther King Jr., and JFK, right? So definitely fits the description you just gave us.
Yeah, and those, Val, what's interesting is everybody can go back and understand who these people are and who dreamers are, even though you have never talked to them. And here's how you would know them. Go and read what they ever said. And you will figure out very quickly, oh, that's how they talk. They were talking about things that didn't exist, and they were imagining, and they didn't care. They had this pursuit of something that it may never happen in their lifetime. They don't care about that. They're still dreaming about a pursuit is what keeps them going.
Gotcha. Okay. So perfect. Let's move on to our doers. And again, characteristics, strengths, weaknesses of doers.
All right, doers are the most important people in the world, like hands down. Doers are the people who keep things running. They're the people you count on. So in an organization, when you think about who are my doers, doers are the people who are like, all right, this is my job. I know how to do this. They're very process oriented. They're very action oriented. I want to do this thing. They have a checklist. The most important skill set they have is, or trait they have is, they are the most trusted people in the organization. You know, if I give something to a doer, they will get it done, and they will do 5 on an average 3. They will do a 5, because that's who they are. They are fully trusted. They just do, and they live just like the dreamers live in the wow world. The doers live in the how world. Like, how do you do it? So when a dreamer comes with an idea, the doers typically are asking the question, okay, that's a great idea. How do we do it? And that's how you know that person is a doer.
Okay, so examples of doers are, looks like Oprah Winfrey, Nelson Mandela, Serena Williams, Tim Cook, Sheryl Sandberg. I mean, that's great company to be in.
Yeah, a lot of people misunderstand and think that, well, the charismatic dreamers are the only one who can be leadership roles or be the CEOs, but not true. Like, you think about Tim Cook, who clearly is a doer, and took Apple from what people thought, oh, he's never going to be like Steve Jobs. He didn't have to be. That's the point. The point is you could be who you are when you lean into your lane of genius. So Sheryl Sandberg is famously quoted to say that, hey, we should just make things better. So you will hear that's what doers say. They're all about making things better. So a lot of times leadership roles where companies need things to be better, you need a doer. You don't need a dreamer. That they will actually create chaos and havoc. You don't want that. So it's very important to understand that each role has a time and place for it.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about drivers. Again, characteristics, strengths, and weaknesses. Confession here. I believe I am 100% a driver. Yeah. And when I saw the word bulldozer in there, I got a little concerned. So talk me down. All
right. Well, here's the thing. Drivers are the people who have a sense of urgency about everything. So they are the people who are sending status updates even before anybody calls for it or asks for it. They're problem solvers. You are probably, if people are around you and knowing you a little bit, I know that you're looking at it and saying, how do I solve that problem? You're all about, or drivers typically are all about outcomes. They're like, well, we need to get there. It doesn't matter. There may be 4 different ways to do it. I'll work with everybody, but we need to get there. And they need to be somewhat bulldozers, because without drivers, they are the one who are moving the world further, faster. Without them, everybody would be like, I joke about this. If we all are dreamers, then we'll be only sitting around a coffee table talking about it, and nobody will go anywhere. So that's the problem with dreamers. If you're only doers, we'll work ourselves out of it because we're just trying to do a 5 on a 3. And at some point we are in the how world and never get into it. Whereas drivers, you live in the now world. Let's get this thing now. Let's make things happen. And so you need to be a little bit of a bulldozer. and the best leaders in most companies, if you look at the most fastest growing company, if you read a book from the Snowflake CEO, Frank Slootman, who wrote about Amp It Up, I mean, he said we need to create more intensity and more agility in our organization. Well, he is clearly a driver. He's not trying to create a visionary thing. He's a driver, and he built one of the greatest and most profitable company in the world right now. So drivers are absolutely needed because they move the world further faster. Whereas dreamers, they're dreaming about a new world, and doers, they want to make sure that the world keeps going every single day. So everyone has a clear purpose and value when they work together, actually.
So yeah, let's look at our examples of drivers. We've got Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Margaret Thatcher, and Michael Jordan. So I feel like I'm in good company, Sangram.
What a great company. And tell me this, like when you heard the word and you associated yourself, okay, I'm a driver, was that, oh, finally I have a word for myself? Or was that like, oh, no, that's not me?
Oh, no, 100%. I can remember I joined a company as the head of marketing, and there were 3.5 marketers on the team. And after a week or two, I kind of pulled them all together and I said, I like everything you guys are doing, but you need to just do it a whole lot faster. So that's a driver, right? Like I'm quintessential.
Here's the issue that most organizations have, Val. One is a lot of times they will hire one person and expect 3. So a lot of times they'll say, hey, I need you to come and come up with the new messaging we need to have. And then I need you to execute all the events that we are running. And we also need to get all the other issues with the sales and the CS function all happen. And so what happens is at that point, the person is never allowed to be the best version of themselves. So it's important to know who you are and then surround yourself with others. Nowhere else I've ever found where somebody could just jump in and, oh, I'm going to be a dreamer today. I'm going to be a driver. No, it's about how can you operate almost 70% of your time in that mode. And the other 30 expect you to be if you're a driver, to be sometimes in a doer mode or a dreamer mode, trying to support all the other areas. You're never going to be 100%. You actually be bored if you're 100% in that. So the best way I've seen people operate in this is that 70% of the time, this is something comes naturally to you. Nobody has to tell you and do it. And so as an example, whenever we are coming up with a new product, I will find all the dreamers in the company and bring them to that meeting because it doesn't matter what role it is. That's where companies get it wrong. They hire by roles or get people by roles to contribute. No, you need dreamers because you don't want anybody to ask how. You don't want anybody to ask now. You want everybody to say, wow, what can we do? So it's a very different meeting. And then once you have that, you need all the people who can say, how are we going to build this? And that maybe all these different people with different roles and different hierarchies can come in and they will talk about how we do it. And then you need a driver who could say, all right, we need to get this to the market now. This wow, how now is a way I think companies can do better at go-to-market in general.
Yeah, I think it's great that you pointed out that, you're not going to 100% be a driver or a dreamer or a doer at any given time. Like you might be a 70-30, because sometimes that's how people get frustrated with models like this. They're like, well, I identify a little bit with this, but I really identify a lot with this. So you can, kind of switch modes, especially in a startup or in SaaS where we're moving so fast all the time.
Totally, Val. And I think you can mature into one. I feel like we are all given a gift that we are natural at. I became an entrepreneur at the age of 36. So it wasn't, I had 2 kids, wife and all of that. And then I became an entrepreneur. If somebody told me I'm going to be an entrepreneur at 22, I would have said, no, that wasn't my goal. That wasn't something I thought I could do or wasn't really passionate about it. I just wanted a job. I wanted to build a family and just normal stuff. And then all of a sudden it hit me like, oh, there's nothing could stop me from getting started from term. It's like you could hold me back, but I would still, I knew that this is bigger than me and I'm getting plunged into something that I didn't even know that I had a skill set. And even before 2015, I didn't speak at any events. I wasn't a speaker. I wasn't writing and I wasn't an author. So all these things came to me after 2015 when I became an entrepreneur. So I became a full-on dreamer and that had a very high doer driver EQ on, like I can jump into a doer driver mode, but at least know. I know when I'm a dreamer and I could just be like that, and then I know when to jump into it. So best leaders would be able to know what their authentic self really is good at. And really, to your point, see if you can and audit yourself. Like, are you spending a good amount of time in that? If you're not, then I'm not happy. The days I don't get to innovate, or the weeks, I'm a little grumpy. And you'll see that, like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, dude, everything is good, but I'm grumpy because I'm not on a whiteboard. I need to be on a whiteboard. I need to have the wow conversation. So you need to find ways to do that in your life. So find out who you are and lean into it and tell everybody around you so people can make much of you and help you and take advantage of your skill set for the company and greater good.
Well, Sangram, thank you so much for talking through this model with me. As I mentioned, it really did speak to me as a multiple SaaS startup offender, I guess. So really appreciate your insights.
I'm excited. I'm glad you caught on it. I'm glad it spoke to you as you share it and as people listen to this. My prayer for everybody is that once you know what you're really good at, once you have a lane of genius that is so clear, tell others. Tell others. It's freeing when you know who you are and what your talented and gift is all about.
Great. Really great insights. Guys, that's all the time we have for closing time this week. Please remember to like this video, hit the button for notifications, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you next time on Closing Time.